We are live, man.
We're live.
Yeah.
This is it. I am coming to you live from the studio in Neo Wagme, whatever that is. Alongside me, I have Alp Gazimov, who is a real human, but I am, in fact, a meta-human. And this is the very, 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 very first attempt at virtual production from the Defiant. If you're tuning in, you may have questions. And believe me, we have had plenty of questions this week. We've been trying to figure out this thing out. And I think we're getting there. I think we're definitely getting there. But you might be intrigued to know what is actually going on here. So let's pull back the curtain right now. So there's Alp Gazimov.
Sup, yo?
Sup, yo? Hey, listen, you forgot to turn the lights on. Oh, I forgot to turn the lights on. Put some light on so we can actually see who you are and where you are. There we go. Bit of moody lighting. I'm, in fact, over here. And yes, this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. This is a standard deviation mocap face unit thing for holding your phone and making it possible to have your phone on you at all times. Trust me when I tell you that it's a bit weird. And then I've got my microphone in the way. We've got cameras set up. We're still figuring this stuff out. But essentially on the phone right here is an app that is scanning my face right now in real time. Let me see if I can bring this camera over and you can actually see it. Let's switch to camera 2. And there you go. You'll be able to see. There it is. Me on the app. And that is scanning my face in real time. Oh, we should have rehearsed this out.
That's fine.
And then projecting that onto the MetaHuman via some very nifty plugging kind of stuff going on. But that's effectively what's happening here. So you can see my face moving and it's talking through the MetaHuman. And that is how we're able to do virtual production. That's super, super janky at the moment because literally every single thing we've ever learned about production, well, we've had to forget it. Unreal Engine is a game engine, and it's about basically programming whatever you want to program and having full control over the destiny of objects and entities and interactions, wherever you want them to be, however you want them to occur in your game world. So I'm going to switch back to my main setup, and so you can see this thing is it's so awkward. And trust me, like at the moment, I can't move my hands and move the character. All I can do is operate the face. So I can puppet the face, and that's it. And in the future, we're going to have a full motion capture suit, which will enable me to do everything. We'll also have some stretch sense gloves. Al, have you got those gloves ready to hand?
It's charging there, actually.
They're charging. But basically, these gloves have stretchable sensors in them. Tracking hands is one of the hardest things to do in virtual production because there's so much fine detail, and they're so small that most tracking things can't actually handle that level of fine detail. You look like an early stage version of Bogdanov. So fucking true.
Spot on.
Absolutely spot on. The stretch sense gloves are going to be amazing. We're still figuring out how to plug them into Unreal, but there's like this is an iterative process, and rather than like come out swinging with the entire thing solved, we thought we would just stumble through it live. So as you can probably tell from the last couple of weeks, we've just been adding more and more layers of complexity. There's so many things that we still are terrible at, but we're figuring them out and slowly getting them to actually work. So like you can see that my face on the MetaHuman is so shiny, and that's because I messed up the textures. We've actually fixed it, but it took so long to download the new version of the MetaHuman that we couldn't actually we couldn't do it in time. So we didn't bother. There's actually a version of me with a mohawk, which is actually the one we wanted to use, but we couldn't because we couldn't download it in time. And then actually when we added 2 instances of this MetaHuman into the scene, it actually became too heavy for our computer. So we've had to buy a new computer to handle the extra load of what's going on here. But this is proof of concept. It works, and we can actually start producing content in this virtual environment. So Alp, I'm going to hand the reins to you, and you can fly around and give us a little tour of our set here and show people what we're actually working with. So this is a kind of standard game environment. We've got a cyberpunk flat. Oh, wow, you just flew through my head. You bastard. So
there it
it's
is.
a pretty cool environment. We will be able to put Defiant logos. We were able to put NFTs on walls and stuff, and really kit out the environment the way we want to. And this is all happening in real time. So imagine a game that you might play. It's the same basic rules, and even this set that you're looking at isn't really as kind of capable as we know Unreal Engine can actually be. When you get to the level of photorealism that's actually possible in this software, start to see some really phenomenal things going on. Damn, Supermassive looks ugly. I know, right? It's a process, y'all. It's a process. We have to figure this stuff out. Also, there you go. There's my metahuman, and I doled him out in clothes that were kind of reminiscent of the Defiant colors. So he's black and green, but like metahumans are really amazing. You can do a lot with them, but also there's a lot you can't do. So they're designed to make it possible to create moderately photogenic looking humans that have moderately correct facial proportions. So you can't really mess them about. You can't create demons with weird ears or whatever. This is like my first real attempt to create a metahuman version of myself using only the Metavision software, and it's getting there. It's getting there. Like if you go in close on an angle, Alp, if you fly in close to me, kind of sort of quarter profile, he will look decently like me. And like if you go in really close, like my nose and my eyes and stuff, you can sort of believe it's me. I recognize features of myself in there, but like it's just not me. And he's so sweaty and kind of weirdly chubby. He looks so plastic.
Yeah, that's Robin.
Blood. But he's not speaking anymore because we're not playing.
We're not playing.
So we have to play the level in order to be able to do it. Andy Needham says, pretty cool set. You're not wrong, Andy. It is a pretty cool set. Spoiler, we just downloaded this off the Unreal Engine Marketplace. We're going to customize it and make it our own, but we were in a hurry today and needed to get something built and ready. But you can actually fly through my mouth. It's so weird. It's so weird. And like eyeballs in metahumans is just like, what? Bit of salt and pepper hair. Very nice.
Dude, you're empty inside. What the hell?
I'm empty inside. It's so true. It's so true. So true. No says, A says, no, you don't look this good. Crying tears. Well, that's very kind of you. I do work very, very hard on my physique. I'm on Instagram every day posting selfies of myself because I'm that vain. Definitely not. I don't care. When Supermassive Raver? Cuban Nerd says it's pretty good. You should get shaders that are not 100% realistic. It will remove that uncanny valley feeling. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So this is our first test with just taking a live stream and seeing if we can do it directly out of Unreal, but with a metahuman. So you have this. I can stick my tongue out. It's got a decent range of movement. There's a bunch of things you can do to make it more expressional. Give it a more expression. So you can add wrinkles and you can add wrinkle maps. All of these things we will refine over time. So this is not, this is going to just have to be a process. We needed a much better computer, which we've ordered in order to make this happen. And what's cool about it though is that all of the items that are in the set are movable. So Al, do you want to move me to the window?
Let's do that.
Why don't you move me to the window and we can do like a moody backlit kind of Blade Runner style shot of just me standing at the window, contemplating the weird, wild world of DeFi. And it's crazy when you start thinking about what's possible here. And this is the most basic version of this. I'm just sitting at my desk right now, just wearing a stupid helmet, talking to you guys with this on. And the idea is that this will become more and more familiar to us and we'll be able to line stuff up faster and faster and faster. And I'll have a full motion capture suit. And we have a volume that we're building here, which will be full optical with infrared cameras around it. That will mean that instead of me having to sit here and perform, Alp will be able to just, have a mobile camera that can be anywhere. He can walk to anywhere we want to on the set, and we'll have the set kind of marked out on the floor with tape. And we'll know that in that corner over there is going to be a TV monitor, and we'll have a light set up specifically to make sure that makes sense. And we might do mixed reality, so it's actually really me walking around a virtual set. That's something we can play around with. So I could walk as a virtual human in that set using Vive trackers. There is a ton of stuff that we still need to figure out. And the other thing we can also do is we can set it up to trigger so that if somebody writes WGMI in the chat, then it will spawn into the environment. So you might spawn the word WGMI, or just have a particle shower of WGMIs in the set as well. Or it might just spawn an NFT, and then we'd be able to sell that NFT, or you might be able to claim that NFT or a POAP or something like that. This is all a little bit further down the line, but it is entirely possible. I don't think it's necessarily possible in YouTube, but it's definitely possible in Twitch. So what we're trying to do with all of this is just push ourselves every week to do something new. Push ourselves every week to try something new. And Al, how have you found it doing this week?
At times it's really challenging to figure out what the things we're trying to do here, because it's like really, really nascent stuff we're dealing here with. And we're dealing with very nascent problems. So when you're trying to search them, Google them, very, very few people have asked the same questions. So you find it difficult to solve those problems, and you have to like go through a documentation or go through a couple different solutions and try to figure out it that way. But overall, it's really, really exciting, even though it's like extremely frustrating at times not being able to figure it out. But it's really pleasing to come to a stage where you can actually show to people. But everything is just very experimental and trial and error at this point. But we're sharing the process and how far we've come with the audience. So that's fun.
Absolutely. Well, listen, our first guest has joined us, so I think we should go back to the...
Yeah, I kind of messed it up, but I'm gonna...
it's fine. It's fine. We're going to add Loomdart to the stream.
Yeah, let's do that.
Mr. Loom, are you there?
Hey, friends. Should I put a blueberry profile pic, maybe? I feel like I may be ruining the imagery here.
Dude, simplicity is best. You know this.
I like a Twitter reply guy.
Oh my god. Al, play so I can be my real digital self.
Almost there.
Nice.
Oh man, you can be anything. Why would you be yourself? You're like a dinosaur.
It's a process, my friend. Like getting metahumans to work with LiveLink is like it's the easiest thing for us to start with. So that's where we started. Al, come on.
Okay.
Come on.
1 second.
People are watching.
All right.
They demand.
There
they
you go.
Oh, look at that. You've French framed me.
Yeah, well, you
bastard.
rushed me into it, man. Just
Absolute
give me 10 more
bastard.
seconds. 10 more seconds.
Let's introduce our first guest. He is the legendary Loomdart. I don't think there's many people who don't know who you are, but in case, they think you're an amateur boxer, why don't you introduce yourself?
So since I fought in a officially sanctioned fight, I do class as a professional boxer.
Do you class as a professional boxer? That is amazing. I mean, there's a pretty special...
I mean, I think so.
There's pretty special...
as long as no one asks you many questions, yeah.
We didn't get sparked out, but you got put down.
No, yeah. Gosh, boxing is honestly, it's an adventure. I mean, I really want to do it again, but there's this whole thing of like getting repeatedly hit in the head is not like good in the long term, I feel.
I think you're right. And it's amazing.
I mean, it might make me a better trader, but it could also make me a worse one.
It's amazing that it's taken this long to figure that out. But like, there's something brutal and wonderful about boxing. And like, do you ever do like, chess boxing? You do like a round of boxing and then a round of chess. It's mental, literally.
That is not a concept I am familiar with, unfortunately. But it sounds very taxing.
I bet you it is. Like boxers are hardcore, seriously hardcore. Like the fitness required, and also the sporting intelligence required to hit people. Anyway, we digress because it's not boxing that you're here to talk about. It is all sorts of things. But why don't we start with your NFT journey? How did you end up in NFTs? Because it wasn't where you began, but you've embraced it wholeheartedly.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, what?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I started off as a pretty big NFT skeptic.
And why are you so skeptical about it?
So kind of, this is just my general thing with basically everything in crypto is I arrived semi-late. Like I was one cycle late to DeFi just because I come from the old class of crypto. Like I started in 2014 and basically it was like anything that isn't the norm is like considered a scam. and like it's very hard to grow out of that mindset. So when I initially saw NFTs, I was just like, these guys are buying pictures of like pixels, like this. I don't see why this is anything. It's just like a bit of fun. And then I kind of skipped like the initial cycle NFTs had. I think it was in March.
Yeah, it was early into 2021 that, well, actually, to be honest with you, the whole thing picked up at late 2020, and then it really took flight in 2021. But like the Nifty Gateway degenerates were really active in late 2020. But why was it that you changed your mind? Because I also have the same thing as you. Like if you went through the ICO phase and you saw just how much garbage was pumped into the market and then just evaporated into nothing, you could have seen the same pattern play out with NFTs. But clearly something has changed for you.
Well, so back in May 2021, before like prices plummeted, I sold everything. And I was like kind of so happy with myself that I sold like the exact top. That I was like, all right, how can I brag about this? And so I thought like the funniest thing to do when like everyone was bleeding money is to like buy the stupidest thing I could think of, which was a Unisoc.
Yeah.
And so it was meant to be like this whole like, haha, look at me type thing. And then kind of when I bought the sock, I was like, all right, I may as well like give NFTs like a second look. And I talked to a few kind of bright and sharp friends, like big shout out to CL207, the Unisocks king. But then he kind of talked to me a bit about it. And I realized like how actually awesome it is to kind of have some form of like the fact that you own this is on the blockchain. I don't know. I've always found like stuff that was directly on the blockchain to be cool, but I got burnt pretty hard in like 2016, back when it was a bit too early for that type of thing. And so I kind of shifted away from that thing to more like financial stuff. But no, I kind of bought my Unisoc and then I was like, wait, this is actually really cool.
Yeah, but what was it about Unisocks that was cool? Because for people who don't know, Unisocks were basically a pair of socks, and that was it. It was basically an NFT that was redeemable for a pair of socks, and they absolutely mooned harder than anything has ever mooned. It was insane. But why did you think it was pretty cool?
Well, I mean, it's the fact that like basically these things are so bizarre that like no one ever classed them as investors. So like the only people holding them were like these diehard kind of like fanatics who like would never sell. So it made like a really good trade profile to me to start with, where it was like, hey, if everyone has sold everything, of course they've sold all their Unisoc. So like there's no sellers of this thing left. So initially it was just like a trade, but then it was like, oh wait, this thing's actually super cool and like it's permanently in your wallet. And I view it as like, I mean, I initially did buy it as like a clout symbol, basically, to be like, hey guys, look, I sold the top and I can buy a sock.
Yeah, it's weird. It is a clout symbol, and like we've seen a bunch of those, like punks and bored apes and everything else. Fast forward, and you are now the proud founder of, you know, the Wassies. How did you end up launching those? Because you launched them quite late in the so-called PFP cycle.
Yes. So obviously, like, Wassies are much bigger than just myself, and I think like calling myself the founder of them would be like dishonest. It's more like I'm just one of the members of the community who are like trying to push Wassie culture forward, because I think the whole concept of it is just so insanely absurd. But like it's this very crypto native thing, and they're a very nice blank template. Like you can be a Wassie, but like be any type of Wassie, which I think is just really cool. But no, I can give like a quick rundown on the history of Wassies if you would like,
and
then
no,
kind of how Loomlock the project. All right, so this was, geez, back in 2017, there was an account called Wassapest, and he was like kind of the guy that helped. Well, he brang Wassies to like everyone, and the backstory of like the original kind of platypus is, there's a Japanese hentai artist called Tsukino Wagamo. And so the kind of Wassie was like his little insignia thing. And it was just like a little fun little doodle he had. And then Wassapest kind of picked up from somewhere, I guess, and just like donned it as his Twitter kind of imagery. And then just over the years, like it kind of started to snowball as like a few more people started like integrating into Wassie culture. And then it became like this whole huge thing. And no, so Loomlock kind of came in back, So the whole concept of the actual Loomlock itself. So it's quite a confusing thing to explain to people, which is why like we're internally working like a really nice roadmap to like basically, if anyone asks what is Loomlock, we can just show them this image and they finally understand. But no, so Loomlock is a concept I had a few years back, but like I never had the resources or the ability to like make it a real thing till now. But it was basically an NFT raise for a kind of physical padlock that works off of time. But like I was left with a dilemma where it's like, okay, so I have like, it's going to take 9, 10, 11 months to fully get this business up and running with like quality controlled physical units. And during that time, like I didn't want to kind of raise money and then be like, all right, guys, see you in like a year. I wanted something that would just let us keep engaging the community, because at the end of the day, those are the guys who are like going to make this project a success or not. And I thought Wassies would be like a really cool way to kind of do both things. Well, like we're helping expand the whole Wassie culture, but also give everyone something to kind of keep them in the community and engaged till like the whole Loomlock company is ready.
Sounds interesting. So the Loomlock is basically, as I recall, it's a symbol that says we spend way too much time connected to stuff that's frying our eyeballs and frying our brains, and some time away from all of that would be good for our sanity. Is that basically the gist of it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's kind of two big examples I like to use. The one people most resonate with is like when it's late at night and you're trying to sleep, but like your phone's there. And so you always have this feeling in the back of your head, like, let me just check my phone one more time. And the whole concept of the Loomlock is basically like you put your phone in a container that's locked by a Loomlock, and it has like it's locked for a set amount of time. And there's no longer an urge to be like, let me check my phone, because like you physically can't access your phone. And I think like the whole concept has a lot of power behind it that like we haven't really explored yet. So I'm excited to see how the year goes.
So your community that you put together, are they kind of enjoying having the Wassies? Are they having a fun time with it? Because you know it has its own identity, and it's got you attached to it. So I guess it's got something to distinguish it from other PFPs out there.
Yeah, no, the Wassies have been having a blast, and so kind of we really want to support the whole Wassie community, and so part of like what we're doing while waiting for the unfortunately real life stuff is not as quick or fast or fun as crypto stuff. So while we're kind of waiting for all of that to roll out and just the whole list of infrastructure mumbo jumbo, we're also doing stuff like we have a Wassie grants program where basically anyone who has any form of like just cool idea that somehow uses Wassies. A few examples is we have a Wassie card game that we're like successfully applied for a grant and got approved, and just kind of a few different like very projects we would never think of, but like the community thought of and came to us with. And it's like, hey, if the community wants it, then like hell yeah, let's fund it and just like give them some money to kind of build all of this out. And so like that's been a blast.
So where is this money coming from? Is this money from the raise from the sale of?
Yes.
So that brings me to the next point, which is the way you did your sale was really interesting. Could you kind of break it down and explain how you came to that decision? Because it's quite unlike anything else I've seen up to this point.
Ooh, yes. So the whole kind of Loomlock auction was basically the inception of a company I am a proud co-founder of, which is Meldrew. And so basically I came to the other two co-founders with the initial Loomlock idea, and this was back in April, where it wasn't very fleshed out. It's just I think I have a really good idea for like a physical business that could really benefit from like the community aspect of NFTs. And so kind of me and the team like worked together, and it was my co-founder Psyop Cop who kind of designed the actual mechanism for Loomlock. But the whole concept there was basically NFT mints can be really stressful. You can spend a lot of money on gas that just like you don't even know if your money went to like a good cause because your transaction could just be reverted. And so we were like, well, instead of the money just being burnt and going to miners, let people decide how much they want to pay for the NFTs and just have like an open English auction style mint. And then kind of, we hit deploy.
Well, that was cool. So, and I seem to remember like people got kind of confused by it and pissed off by it, but did it end up?
Yes. So I guess the thing with anything new in crypto is like obviously we tried our best to kind of educate people on exactly how the whole system worked, but you know how it is. Kind of NFT mints can be pretty stressful things for everyone, and so people get a bit angry.
So you're a hardcore trader, people know you for that. NFTs tend to attract more newbies. How has it been dealing with newbies?
So I wouldn't really call them newbies, but you're definitely correct in that, like, I mean, like, just if you think of it like, all right, DeFi, how many people are going to want to understand DeFi? It's not very many. It's like, there's not many parallels to real life, but NFTs are something that like anyone can kind of understand the base concept of and get involved in. Because like at the end of the day, it's just a social thing.
You realize that you've just literally dissed my day job. You've just literally taken a massive giant dump all over what I do for a living. Like, because I honestly, when you say
metaverse,
yeah, no, but like DeFi, why do you think I'm dressed up like this plastic, fantastic idiot version of myself? It's
no, I mean like
kids.
Tiny little dinosaur. It's the metaverse. You can be anything you want.
You're right, though. It's the sugar that helps the medicine go down. I'm totally on board with you on that, because like if you spend any time in DeFi, it becomes like this massive circle jerk as you kind of spiral further downwards into like MEV and flashbots and all this cool, clever stuff.
Yeah, we have
like,
V now.
Well, I was like, yeah, I'm LPing, yeah. I'm like a boss, yeah. And I'm like, I did this farm and that farm. You're like, God, you're a dick. Like most people in DeFi are stone cold dicks, and that's fine. They're allowed to be dicks because they're pushing the boundaries of everything that's possible in fintech. But like, I honestly believe that a simple savings account, like an account that pays you better than your bank would pay you, that is compelling. It's also not very interesting. It's not sexy. But you add an NFT on top, and it's like, ooh, cat picture. I'm in. So I think you're right there.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to add that kind of there's another aspect of all of this, which is like what I said before, where kind of I didn't really get or like NFTs till I owned one myself. And you can really expand that concept to crypto in general. And then like an NFT is an amazing way for someone to kind of start getting their grasp on how crypto works. And so it's not like someone may come into crypto through NFTs and be like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. They finally have a reason to get in. And then through that, they're like, all right, what else can I do in crypto? And then they can discover DeFi. And like, they're coming from DeFi is less of a shock to them because they already grasp basic crypto principles.
Yeah.
And then like that way, it helps everything.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a backdoor to crypto exposure that is way more friendly. You know what? Have you been keeping track of the news? Like everybody is scrambling to on-ramp in some way via conventional kind of muggle mechanisms, like MasterCard and Coinbase NFT. Like all these things is, and I think OpenSea's acquisition of Dharma basically opens the doors for them to build like really robust on-ramps for people into that marketplace. Like everyone's scrambling because they realize that like crypto is just inherently annoying and adversarial, but NFTs are a culture and you rep them as culture, and suddenly you're opening up like this whole massive world marketplace of just people who want to gain some kind of exposure to something that doesn't make them feel like they're completely complete idiots and don't understand it, or just feel like they're being scammed.
Exactly. So something I would add also is that like we live. So obviously 2020 was really hard on like a big chunk of the population, and like people were sad, like they were lonely because like you couldn't go outside and see your friends, and so more people were just drawn to the internet. And now like if you're kind of someone who is an internet native and you hop in, like you don't have an avatar, you don't have a profile picture, you don't know anyone you can talk to or really trust. And then it's like, hey, look, let me buy this random NFT. And then suddenly, just by owning that NFT and repping it, you don't only like gain an identity, but you also gain something that is a signal for other people to be at least a bit nicer to you. Like, say you're a CryptoPunk. If you rep a CryptoPunk, other CryptoPunks are going to be way more interested in talking to you. And it's like this little hack into like basically forming some like bonds with people who you otherwise would not have bonds with. And it's just like a really cool way of basically breaking the ice for the internet, which I think is like really, really powerful, since we do live in kind of, I guess, a bit more isolated times, and the internet can be a really scary place to people.
So I have a weird parallel to this, which is when I first started working, it was the early 2000s, and I used to go to work on the tube in London. And it's really hard to imagine by then, but like there were no white earbuds except from Apple. Like nobody else made colored earbuds. Every earbud that you would ever see was black. And so you would go on the train and you'd see people who had white earbuds, and you knew that they had an iPod. And it's this weird thing because you would see them and you go, I know you got an iPod. You're like me. And like we don't do that now because everyone's got white white earpieces. But back then, it's exactly what you're talking about. It was this weird thing where I see you and I know you were a little bit like me, and like maybe we could be friends. And of course, you can't be friends. It's ridiculous. But I feel like NFTs, in some way, they form that same kind of social signaling. It's just like you and I have this tiny, tiny, tiny little thread in common that might mean that we could have a conversation. And because it's so difficult to kind of just connect with people in any weirdly non-confrontational way these days, like just having that little thing, it does open conversations up in a very strange way. And I'm all for that. I don't know where it goes, and I don't know how long it will last, but I'm certainly having much more fun in NFTs than I ever did in altcoins. Sorry, in shitcoins. Let's be honest here. So
I mean,
listen.
yeah, also NFTs are honest. Like, they don't lie to you.
Oh, come
They're not like, all right,
on.
we're building this, we're building that. It's just like, hey, mate, here's your picture, enjoy.
I'm going
So like,
to.
there's less kind of.
I'm God.
Yeah.
Did you really just say that NFTs are honest?
I mean, so well, they were kind of. Obviously, like with everything.
Some
in crypto,
NFTs,
because it is.
some NFTs are honest. Like, I think what you actually mean is most NFT communities are naive. Most. And there's something wonderful about that. But actually, you know, there's also some really lethal scammers out there who are very far from being naive or honest. And, you know, we'll come back to a story later on, but I want to dig in further into Metadrop, because Metadrop is clearly a project that has stolen your soul to a degree. And I'm curious if you can give us a projection of where it might be going and what you might be wanting to do with it, because it's quite a big undertaking to do something like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, we fall in love with like every project we do a drop with, which is pretty cool. Like, they all become like part of the family. It's pretty awesome. Like kind of the Veil VR drop, for example, with the Valians. Like I love those guys. But no, so kind of.
But sorry. on that point though, having traded shitcoins, did you ever fall in love with a shitcoin? No. You fell in love with the people that you were trading it with, because you were either making money or you were at a loss and you were sharing kind of black humor with them. But you never really fell in love with the project itself. And there's definitely something different with NFTs, that there's this illusion of ownership around it, which may or may not turn out to be real ownership, but at least there's the illusion, and that's kind of fun.
I mean, I guess, why would you say kind of it may or may not turn out to be real? Or do you mean like the whole kind of IP situation with a few projects like punks and I guess penguins?
So the NFT you own, but that sense of owning a piece of the community, some communities are really good at defining what that is and delivering it back to you, whether it's in, you know, whitelist spots or additional NFTs or in just access to things. And some are really good at telling you that they're going to give you stuff and then they never deliver it.
I guess that's true, but I speak more from just like, rather than like a project founder level, more as in like the community itself, like the guys who actually own the NFTs.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So I'm want to dig into Wassy porn, not as in we see Wassies just like getting it on with some 70s funk music. No, we're talking about porn as in pawn shop, this is a concept that I saw you come up with. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a different take on DeFi. So can you explain what it is? Because we've seen things like NFT Fi, which is like NFT lending, but I'm curious how your concept's different and what you came up with
spent
here.
like hours a day trying to say porn in like the non-adult industry way. I just can't. It's like pound.
Now listen, if you just got to imagine that you're a gentleman from the deep south, and just allow that vowel to wrap itself around like a massive piece of chicken in your mouth, and then you're there. You just try it. Pound. There you go.
Wussy pound.
And then like
Jeez.
somewhere in the world, some knickers are dropping right now. True story.
Oh Christ. Anyways, so kind of Wussy Pound is a product that Loomlock built with Metadrop. And it's effectively like we have this issue where there's a lot of people building out NFT kind of collateralization protocols and systems, but at the end of the day, kind of these guys have to like, there has to be some form of like, okay, we're giving you this much money for your NFT. And it's kind of really, really hard to calculate that. And so at Loomlock, we were like, all right, look, we can basically do a form of collateralization where people can get this amount of ETH for their wassies. And the hope is obviously that like everyone pays these off. And like yeah, that's it. There's no like actual kind of guys that default or anything. But the whole concept here was that like these guys can put their wassies up and then get some ETH, because in NFTs, like illiquidity is a very, very big problem. Like it's like, all right, sweet, I have this NFT I really like, but like there's this this mint that's coming that I know is guaranteed money. And it's like, all right, but if I sell my NFT to someone who really likes it, like they're not going to sell it back to me. Like I can lose this thing that is me. In the famous quote a while back, it's like, I am my penguin and my penguin is me.
Ah, you segue. You just gave me, you just set it up and I'll smack it home. So let's talk penguins. You're intimately acquainted with the penguin situation with the man whose name rhymes with pole, whose name shall not be mentioned.
He rugged me months before anyone else.
Oh God, he's an
bloody
asshole.
Pickles.
Oh yeah, the pickles, man. You fell for it. I fell for it.
I was so like, I've lost a lot of money in crypto scams, and it's like fine. It's like, hey, look, it's crypto. You win some, you lose some. But like, I was genuinely so excited to get a nice pickle. It's like, the way I thought it was is like, all right, look, it's this on-chain lottery where there's 10,000 participants. One person wins the golden pickle. Everyone else gets a nice green pickle, which is like, hey, look, this is your participation in this game. This is your badge to say that like you took part in this. And it's just a really, really cool on-chain experiment. And instead, it's like unveil day, and my pickle turns into a turd with a condom on it. And like, because I had friends I'd gifted these to, and like we're all doing this together. And I look and I have a turd. And like I've lost a lot of money through scams, and like none of it felt as bad as this did.
I tell you why. I tell you why I felt bad, because yeah, he was on Twitter just like whipping up a frenzy, doing that influencer thing, and I wonder if you feel a responsibility because you are an influencer. I mean, I am too, and I try not to be, but I can't help it. Like it just, people say, "Oh yeah, thanks for doing this. You made me a packet." Like I didn't do shit. And I really try hard not to. But do you feel that self-censoring urge now? Like, just be really careful what you say.
Honestly, I try to just be as honest as possible, not just in Twitter, but in like everything in life, because then usually like if you're honest, you know that like you're not lying to anyone or to yourself. But there are times where like it's like I could say this, but like, am I doing more harm than good?
Yeah, that brings us to Beanie. Are you comfortable talking about Beanie? Or would you rather plead the fifth?
I have smart friends who went through that really big thread, because I've just been like crammed for the last few days with work, so I hadn't had the time to because it was a really long thread. But I had smart friends who went through it and like, yeah, this guy's like, this is 100% kind of like like he's guilty effectively. And obviously I haven't gone through it, so I can't comment on it myself. But it's an interesting scenario situation.
Well, what was interesting about it is that Beanie rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but he has a lot of supporters, and I'm curious why he has such fervent support. Is it because he's made people money? But like, he's a big personality in the space, but then he's also got a big kind of history of stuff that he has done that it's taken a really long time to come out. And the only reason I can think of why it's taken such a long time to come out is intimidation. And people are just really, really scared of him. And that's really not why anyone comes into this space. So yeah, I'm not one for cancel culture, but at the same time, I also think, kind of mind control, if you want to call it that, and Telegram groups and the way that you can whip people into this sort of cult-like mindset where you will not say ill things about our project, that can be really unhelpful as well. Is that something you're mindful of with Wussies at all? Are you trying to manage how FUD is delivered, or how your moderators deal with all that
regarding
stuff?
Wussies and stuff, I think it's just like, because this is way bigger than me, like it's an entire community of people, I think try and be as open with everything as possible. But kind of regarding Beanie's situation, the problem effectively arises like whenever you make people money, like they attribute that money they made to you. And then if bad stuff comes out in the future, they feel like because they've attributed this positive thing to you, other people who are shitting on this thing now are the guys in the wrong, not like the guy who made you the money. So you're somewhat like, you're just naturally inclined to defend them, even if you don't really know what's going on. And so I think that's kind of what deters some people, because it's like, yeah, I know this guy did this, and this wrong, but like, what do I mean, I can save people from losing money, but it comes at like a pretty big cost, especially if you're like a kind of smaller guy who not many people will listen to. And then everyone just kind of like, all these supporters just like basically drown you out with like just, I guess you can't really scream on Twitter, but like screeches in text form.
Yeah.
And it is somewhat of a problem.
Yeah, it is. It is. So someone's asking who's the guest. And for those of you who are just tuning in, the guest is Loomdart, who has, as far as I'm aware, 260,000 followers on Twitter, and for a good reason. He's an OG. I would consider you an OG, sir. I hope you don't mind me using that term, but I think you are.
No, it's so OG was really frowned upon in like 2018, where everyone was like, these guys got lucky, they were just early. And then everything kind of went to zero. And then everything came back up, and then it's like, oh, maybe like it wasn't just luck. Maybe we should not like refer to them as such. But anyways, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm fine with OG. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an OG. That'd be like very cringe.
No,
I'm sure others can.
I wouldn't call myself an OG either. I think if you were 2013 class, I think you can call yourself an OG. I'm 2017 class, and I'm second generation, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And a lot of people have made their names this year being NFT influencers and have huge followings and run what I can only describe as inane squawk boxes on Twitter Spaces and on Clubhouse. Have you run a Clubhouse? Did you get into that whole thing?
So I never kind of I spread the message of our lovely crypto cult. No, I never had. I didn't have an Apple device while Clubhouse was a thing. And I think I've run a few Twitter Spaces, but like my phone just hates the Twitter app, and the Twitter app hates Spaces. And so the amount of rugs I've experienced is just I forfeit my right to do Spaces.
You can't forfeit the right to do Spaces. Spaces just exists. The funny thing about Spaces is that it's Twitter and it's Jack Dorsey who's kind of digging his heels in as this Bitcoin maxi now. And that's kind of funny because Bitcoin it's so relevant and also so not relevant, weirdly. And I think Bitcoin maxis have a really hard time shitting on NFTs because like NFT people just don't care. They really don't care. It's
an interesting mix. It's like basically if Bitcoin maxis like Jack didn't exist, no one would be able to like actually do any like fun crypto stuff because like the whole scene would kind of collapse. Like they were the kind of key infrastructure that let all of this get built up. And like without these diehard fanatic Bitcoin supporters, like we would never kind of be here today. So I do hold immense respect for people like Jack who are just like, yeah, they're kind of missing out on a lot of things, but it's because like they have a genuine core belief that like, look, I know I'm Bitcoin, I can trust in Bitcoin. I like let other guys have fun with all this other stuff, but like it's not for me. I mean, obviously this isn't like the toxic maxis that kind of Udi talks about a bunch, who are just like that they feel like if you're in anything that isn't Bitcoin, you're like Satan's second nephew.
Well, listen, I remember my intro into this space. Charlie Shrem, Roger Ver, Eric Voorhees, and then of course Craig Wright, and then like Jihan. What happened to Jihan? Do you remember how much of a villain Jihan was? Like he was just the biggest pantomime villain there was. It was epic back then. Like what happened to him?
Oh geez, yeah. I mean, Bitmain was like the market mover. Like freaking,
remember,
there was
right?
so
Like-
many just huge market moves that happened because like all of these OG Bitcoin guys who just held like hundreds or tens of thousands of Bitcoins were like selling or buying with like ideological reasons, and the Bitcoin chart was just like getting violated by them. But,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
can you-
Bitmain
can you-
was
can
like
you
the
imagine
story of 2018.
Yeah, can you imagine having 10,000 Bitcoin? And also, the New York Agreement, like a bunch of OG Bitcoiners sit down in a room and go, well, I think the Bitcoin block size should be increased. No, I disagree. I disagree because I don't like your face. I don't like it. I don't like it. Are you Jewish? Oh, no. This kind of discussion. That was basically what it was. It was just a bunch of angry white men in a room just talking shit. I like things have moved on so much. I really wonder what they think of NFTs. You know, when Bitcoin NFTs.
So I think there are. It's weird because like Bitcoin NFTs are like, it's like, hey, this is on Counterparty, which is like a Bitcoin sidechain. It's like kind of how Ethereum maxis love to praise Matic now for some reason, and like other chains are scams.
Polygon.
It's a really weird
Polygon.
like double. Sorry, Polygon.
Polygon.
My apologies. It's a really weird like system where it's basically, if I mentally sanction this, it's right. Otherwise, like it's just fundamentally flawed. But I mean, hey, this is crypto. It's a free for all. It's like
where do you sit on all of that? Because I take it you've gone on how to play on DeFi and played around, and you must have gone and explored other chains.
So I'm a big proponent of basically innovation and like trying out new things, but I also think that like trying to shit on others is like a way to kind of propel yourself forward. Like people saying ETH is unusable. It's like ETH is unusable because people use ETH. It's like when these other chains kind of get a lot of usage, stuff goes wrong rather dramatically rather than like gas prices just going up. So I'm obviously like, I think people should explore everything because I've had lots of friends become very wealthy through just like, not even like they had no starting capital, but they just explored these other chains where like, yeah, you can build a little into a lot.
Yeah, there's
so
definitely
I'm a big proponent of.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a lot of fun to be had being a speculator and being a kind of an early Wild West pioneer on other chains. And I experienced it from the inside out because I used to work at Harmony, and Harmony just launched at the worst possible time straight into a bear market, and then kind of really fought hard to come out the other side because there is a place in the world for high speed, high throughput chains where you can find a kind of philosophical reflection of yourself. But then there's this massive sunk cost fallacy. People invest and always generally invest way more than they should do in things, and then they're stuck. And then when you flip around the other side and things go well, you have this really asymmetric attachment to the chain of your choice, even though you were basically manacled to it and you couldn't escape even if you wanted to. It's a really weird situation. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, so like this is kind of, I think honestly, like one of the issues of like what crypto is enabling, which is like basically anything to do with money is very psychologically draining. It's why like for years, like people were fine like giving their money to banks and such, because it's like, hey, look, they can deal with all the headache, yada yada. And now that like we have opened up finance to like everyone, and like it's like a few taps on your phone and you can start participating in crypto. It's like this whole finance thing it's not I wouldn't say it's good. I mean, it's not net bad. Like, it's very cool that like we have opened up so much money for everyone and like overall wealth is increased. But it's also like people having to deal with the constant psychological trauma of like, all right, sweet, so I have to wake up and there's 8 hours I slept where I don't know what the price did. And like, it is a rather mentally taxing thing. So it's, yeah. Crypto is
Are there
good and
any
bad.
are there any NFT markets on other chains that you've gone and had a look at? Because I think one of the hardest things to do is to move people from who are into NFTs from a place where they can just trade anything at speed. Well, we say liquid JPEGs, but when a market gets hot, it's very easy to swap in and out. But if you want to explore them, like on Metaplex, for instance, or
no,
things like
I've
that.
kept my NFT activities mainly just to ETH.
But why? Out of curiosity.
Not really any reason in particular, just kind of ETH NFTs I'm like very familiar with. I mean, for
Well,
the
it's
longest
the
time, my
same
thesis was
tech.
like, which one looked the cutest? So I just had a bunch of cool cats. So I just genuinely loved the aesthetic.
But there's basically there's an issue with all of this, which is there's a kind of gamification quality to NFTs, and NFTs at their best, they really reward and encourage participation. But participation is really hard to do if every time you participate, you have to pay $150. And so, like, if we want people to be really engaged, then it can't happen on ETH as it stands right now, because mass adoption is going to default to the mean, and the mean is generally a bunch of people who have little money to play with, but a lot of eagerness to participate. So you have to keep it cheap, and that's just not where we're at on Ethereum right now.
Yeah, no, I do definitely agree with you on that. But it's just like for my kind of risk parameters and like my overall thesis, I feel comfortable that like, because obviously crypto is like so many big things now. Sometimes you have to like just be like, all right, I know this is an issue now, but hopefully someone will fix it in the future.
Well,
And so
I challenge you on that, because that you're kind of flagging it up as apathy. But I feel like it's on us as leaders to kind of be the bold voices that go and say, you know what, yeah, let's go and do this. And you said like you've been rugged and wrecked innumerable times. Like I feel it's my purpose in life is to get wrecked so that other people can't. And I'm happy to go there. I'm happy to go there if it.
I mean,
if it
everyone
makes the
says
space
that, and then
muchly
you
better.
get wrecked, and you're like, this place is cursed. I hope everyone loses everything, and you turn evil and cynical. Is what I've seen from a few friends.
Yeah, and I refuse to go there, because this space has been incredibly good to me, and I want to kind of at least elucidate how it can be good for you. But mainly it's been good because I made sure that it was working for me and I wasn't working for it. But that's literally because of one simple reason. It was communications, particularly on video, suck in this space, and there was a real gap for something that sucked a little bit less. So I try and suck a little bit less than everybody else, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity that like Harmony gave me to work with them, and the opportunity to go and experience what it's like to be in the middle of an outage on a layer one when the shit hits the fan and like a shard goes down, and to see what it's like when that plays out, and see how the Discord channel is arranged, who's up, who's dealing with it, and then how they fix it, and then how they diagnose it, and then how the community deals with it, and then how the community is then arranged against you, and how little the community actually knows compared to what really went on. That stuff's really fascinating, and we forever grateful that I had that experience. But like, I wish I could share that with more people in a more kind of meaningful way, but it's very, very difficult because most people don't care. They just want it to work.
Yeah, no, it's like it's hard to be sympathetic with people, even though like they tell you what they're doing and like how stuff's working, but like you can never really experience it. And especially if it's like potentially causing you financial stress. If it's like, hey, this coin is down, I can't move anything, people are going to be like very, very unsympathetic and angry, which is, yeah, it's rough. Well, it's just kind of one of those things, just dealing with them in a way that like doesn't make them want to bite your jugular.
But you've been in this for a really long time now, and really present and really attackable. And how have there been moments where you're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done?
Oh no, I'm just like, Twitter has been amazing to me, and I'm just perpetually in love with the concept of like being able to tweet whatever I want and just like getting some form of engagement. I mean, I'm completely addicted to Twitter. But no, I mean, like, I just love all of this way too much to ever be like, this is getting really depressing. It's like, this is too much.
But
So I mean,
was
like,
there?
for all the bad, there's always like good.
No, well, that's very, very true. There is a lot of bad, and I think the people who stick around, particularly through a bear market, they're the ones you'll be friends for a long time because you have that shared experience. No one can really look you in the eye and say, oh, yeah, I understand crypto, until they've been through like a protracted bear phase where literally every single last speck of hope has been crushed out of you, and you go, well, I might be an idiot, but I'm here now. I'm still here. And then you go, oh, wait, I was right. And then you were really, really right. But, you know, I feel you on that. But like, you don't really shitpost anymore. I think you used to, but you're quite.
It's so like, I've kind of learned to like meld the shit posts into stuff that like may have like actual substance behind it as well. But I'd like to say I still do shit post a bunch.
What's your view on the metaverse? Where do you stand on the metaverse?
So basically, I think we're at a point now where like we have iPhone 13, Samsung Galaxy S22. Like companies have run out of shit to sell. It's like it's gotten to the point where like innovation is really hard. It's kind of like how the world was before the internet, where business was kind of stalling. There was no longer this new frontier where you could basically create new things to like capture value. And suddenly all of these companies have got like a second coming of the internet, which is like the metaverse. And so I think there's just going to be this huge kind of influx that's going to keep coming purely because like it's kind of do or die for these companies. It's like physical businesses are perpetually failing. Stuff's getting harder. And like, here's this new frontier that can offer you like all of this kind of new fancy stuff. I think the second coming of the internet is like a really good way of putting it.
The second coming of the internet. That's a little vague. We can go deeper than that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And so kind of just this whole concept of like, Web3 is a very interesting buzzword. But I mean, like with any form of second coming where it's like a Wild West new frontier, there's going to be a lot of like crazy stuff that doesn't make any sense. But I mean, underneath all of it is like this kind of economy where like people actually own their stuff and companies can just deploy. And I think it's just way less wasteful as well, where like everything is virtual. There's no longer like this false pretense of like, hey, look, for this thing to have value, it must have intrinsic value, which is like waste. All these things that we did do to kind of justify to ourselves why these things had value. And now like we're more comfortable. I mean, a good way I like to think of it is like, do you remember back when the iPhone first came out? And there was like apps that cost $1, and like you refuse to buy them. It's like, why would I ever dare spend $1 on this? And then you'd go to the bar and spend like $50 on a night out.
Yeah, I absolutely remember that. And I remember that they're like being just completely bowled over by the accelerometer. You could play like there's like a ball rolling on a thing, and you could move your phone, and there was like an ocarina that you could blow into your iPhone. You're like, I ain't spending $1 for that, blood. You gotta be joking, mate. You gotta be joking. I'm not paying for some developer to develop that so I can pay for it. Yeah, get out of here. Because like when I was outraged, I turned into Ali G. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like kind of, it took a while for people to be like, wait, this is actually fine. Like I'm getting hours and hours of usage out of this. It's like it's worth $1. And then another really good example is like in-game purchases were just like frowned upon for years, and now like everyone has a freaking 5-digit Fortnite skin portfolio. But yeah, I do have to leave soon, but it's been an absolute pleasure, sir.
I love the way you just slipped that in there. I had so many questions for you. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry. Another time.
Listen, yeah, no, thank you for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure because you have so much history.
Likewise.
You have a rich history, and I hope we get you on very, very soon. Like, and also just, well done for Meldrew. It made me think, and it's rare that things make me think. I own a couple of Wassies, and I'm very happy with them, and my kids love them. My kids absolutely love them.
Fun.
They are fun. So listen, this was Loomdart. If you don't know who Loomdart is, go Google him. Go follow him on Twitter. He's one of the smartest, legendary people that we know. And he's also a terrible boxer.
You're making me blush, sir.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. And
well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Trumpet, Loomdart.
So now I want to bring on a special guest. His name is Vector Meldrew. And I wonder if he can hear us.
That's
Vector,
me.
are you there?
I'm here.
Sup.
Can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you.
Can you see me?
And we can definitely see you as well.
Do you like my...
So now we're basically looking at the past, the present, and the future all wrapped up into one thing. If you don't know who Vector Meldrew is, he's a UK-based digital artist. He was included in one of Pranksy's NFT boxes. He's just an all-round degenerate NFT head who's got a mad bunch of 3D skills. And look what he's managed to create as his avatar. So whereas I'm trying to kind of create something vaguely realistic, he's gone completely the other way and built just a beautiful psychedelic thing. Vector, thanks for joining us, man. How are you doing? And now we can't hear him. Alp, fix it.
I got a special background ready in anticipation for your guest.
Fixed it.
Oh, look at that. Irene Zhao. So listen.
Yeah. Where's Irene?
Yeah, I don't know where Irene is. She'll be turning up in hopefully in 10 minutes or so. So Josh, the new Black, is saying mad props, mad animations, go, go, go. How have you created that? Because yours is well good. Mine sucks.
Honestly, this is actually quite easy. I've got a face that I've made in Snap Lens because I'm generally quite excited by what Snap seem to be doing with their AR stuff with different like metaverse integration. So I've made the leap of learning their Lens Studio app, I think it's called. And then the background is just Resolume because this is what I use for VJing. I've been doing these jungle VJ sets where you can basically mix visuals to the music and just been putting like mad visuals like this on everything. But I made you a special Irene background just for this particular episode.
Oh man, Resolume is the shit. I had a look into it and like I looked at what you could do with it. You know they're based in Holland as well.
Oh wow!
They're about 20 minutes up the road from me, and we definitely need to get in touch with them because like oh my god, the stuff you can do in Resolume is so sick. Like just that ability to trigger stuff directly out of Ableton or whatever you're using, and then just build in custom stuff like that's so synced to music. That's actually a good point. It feels to me, and I don't know whether I'm right or not, it feels to me like music and NFTs are about to have a major moment. I can just kind of feel a bunch of things building up all over the place, and I'm wondering if you're feeling the same thing or whether you've seen stuff that you like, but that was definitely my feeling about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been speaking to a lot of musicians and I think it's been said for about a year now, it's like NFTs are going to revolutionize music. And then you speak to musicians or at least independent musicians who I speak to a lot more. And they're like, well, what platforms do we put our stuff on? And I've kind of said to them is that, no, this is like, you don't necessarily need a platform, although I'm sure there are platforms coming, but it's more like a new model whereby you might not be looking up to a record label. You would be able to build both the financing and the audience at the same time through NFTs or maybe some kind of social token. And it's more of like a paradigm shift. You don't have to, just be seeking this record deal the whole time to kind of feel like you've made it. You can now do everything quite organically. And I'm not saying there's like a format for that yet. I think it's still being worked out. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of musicians starting to see it differently. Like, I think that's what's needed, just the perception shift of like, it's not the old format they're working to anymore. It's not about a platform or a record label or some kind of gatekeeper scenario. It's like they can take it into their own hands.
Yeah, that's a really good insight because one of the things that we were looking at with DeFi was we're trying to think about finance being uprooted or upended or reimagined, and that's great and all. And most people that come into NFTs are kind of like, oh shit, I can make a bit of money here. Same thing with shitcoins way back when. and you're thinking that money is the problem. And it's like, actually what the problem is I don't have enough money and I would like to have more money. And actually, when you break it down, money itself is the problem. So the physical act or the unit of currency, whatever you want to call it, that is the problem. And that DeFi is really, really, really good at helping us completely reimagine what money is. I think music has just been this thing that we've always imagined is X. And it's been X for so long because it has such a rich history, the recording artist, the recording studio. And it's been really slow that people have gone, okay, actually, I can self-publish. I can self-record. But like, if you go and fuck around with Ableton right now and stuff that you can buy, you know, like a little MIDI key controller is like $100, like a decent microphone, like maybe $100. And then you're done. You're good. Because Ableton, you know, you get a 3-month trial for free. And then you can get a lot done because the community for Ableton's phenomenal. The plugins are insane, and you know you can make music for very little money and publish it. And then what I think is really interesting about what we're seeing now is that music is the platform. It's not I need to publish on YouTube or SoundCloud or wherever. No, the music itself is the platform, and you can use an NFT as a platform to create a whole bunch of different experiences. It can be a passport. It can also be a delivery mechanism for the music. It can also be an identifier. It can be all these crazy things, but it can also be, it could be an element in your VJ set. I mean, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? It can be whatever you want. And this remix culture is just being taken to the max. It's absolutely overwhelming, but also fundamentally so liberating. And I think that there's a generation that's coming behind you and me, because let's be honest, we're not the youngest kids on the block, that just doesn't give a shit about like boundaries. They're just like, yeah, let's go do something cool. My kids love Minecraft. They're just like, build shit. They tell me they spend more time thinking about what they're going to build in Minecraft than they do actually building it in Minecraft. It's the best. I love it. Sorry, I was talking for a long time there. Now your turn. Go.
No, that's amazing. I fully agree with all that. I mean, I feel like, my background is like 20 years ago, I started in this kind of grassroots movement, music, like pirate radio in London, like the birth of the grime scene, which is known for like independent artists. So, and, which is my first experience of a punk movement that kind of, went against the mainstream. So I've always understood that. But I feel like it's not necessarily a mainstream sentiment, and especially with regards to music, it was always something that was more like left to the fringes. But I feel like now with this technology and this technology being in itself also a punk movement, that sentiment that comes with the technology and the element of sovereignty that people can reclaim with the creativity is now, I think that's the shift that's happening. It's like a sentiment shift where people realize that they can reclaim their creativity. They don't necessarily need to go through gatekeepers or anything like that. So I think, that's what's exciting to me. It's like something that I've been passionate about for the last 20 years or so. And it's also something that I feel like died off. Like I haven't felt this exciting about a creative movement since then. Like I witnessed that and I was involved in that and I helped build that. And then nothing else really exciting came to me for years. And then this came about and I literally felt like I was back in like the pirate radio, grassroots, Web 1 days of trying to figure stuff out, going on chat rooms, trying to ask people how to like build websites or like learn stuff. Like there's not really like a YouTube video or a tutorial course. You kind of just got to figure it out, and you figure it out with community and you figure it out by connecting with people. And that's what we're doing now on a bigger scale with better tools and, more advanced artists. So like, I'm here for it 100%.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a bit of a shared experience here. Like London, I guess, early 2000s, like London was so fucking hot. There was so much insane stuff being built and like so much insane culture. You had like drum and bass blew up 1991, 1992. You got Bookham, Milk Club, all that stuff. And jungle. Like that was in jungle. There's the junglist scene. Like I sound like a posh dude from like Middle England, and like I totally am. I grew up in Oxford, but like I was glued to Radio 1 Essential Mix on a Saturday night, recording directly off the radio, desperate for any drum and bass I could find, because
Same.
that shit just spoke to me in a way that I couldn't possibly imagine. And it was like that. This is what I want to hear. This is the culture I want to embrace. And I still listen to that shit. And I'm like, what happened to that drum and bass mentality? LTJ Bookham is still putting out mixes, and you're like, this guy's a fucking legend. And there's a BBC journalist that just released a mix. This guy's like Ross Atkins on the BBC. He's like stone cold dry BBC reporter. It turns out he was a junglist DJ. He was DJing in like South Africa, bootleg records, and like he just released a mix. You hear him speak, and it's like this very, very serious BBC, and here we have DJ Marky and MC Funks, and and like, what the fuck? And then he just produces this sublime mix. You're like, dude, what the fuck? And like, I'm like, all this stuff's relevant and it's wrapped up in this. But you're absolutely right. It's just that plugging in cables, trying to make shit happen, and trying to do it in a way that's kind of meaningful and honest to you, but just because you want to, and not because there's money attached to or anything else. It's so important and so cool. And on that note, Mr. Vector Meldrew, I can see that we have our guests ready in the chat room. Should we bring them on?
I need to get the background ready. 1 sec.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm very pleased to announce Irene Zhao.
Hello,
Welcome
guys.
to the stream. She is a woman.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
surprise!
Who knew?
Surprise. What a big surprise!
Welcome, guys. So we have Irene Zhao, the very famous Instagram influencer / model / intelligent person making stuff. And we have Ben from So Col, which was the kind of raison d'etre behind this entire crazy story. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. And I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm sure it's very, very late.
Yeah, it's 12 a.m. It's just past midnight for us. Yeah.
So listen, I know we messed you about a bit on the timing, but thank you so much for being here. Guys, what a week. What a week has been for you. Irene, I want to start with you, of course. Can you give me a little bit of background on what has happened here? Also, I should just say that I don't really look like this. This is not actually what's going on. We're playing around with VTubing. So I'm literally VTubing right now. This is me. This is the real me. And we also have Al Gazimov.
Cool.
I don't really look like this either.
No, he doesn't realize this. But I think basically where we're going with this is that identity, who you are and what you're about is going to be a big kind of question mark in the metaverse. And I think that is a relevant discussion point. Anyway, but Irene, over to you. Tell us about yourself and how you came to this crazy situation that you are in now.
Okay, so hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be invited to this channel. So by the way, I really, really love that video. I thought you guys explained our concept even better than we do. And I really like the tempo and the cuts. So a quick intro about myself. I'm Irene, the Instagrammer Irene, the YouTuber Irene, the Twitter Irene, and Irene of Irene Zhao So Col. And surprise, I'm not a man. So I started working on Web3 projects since last year. So So Col is our latest project. Before that, I was a full-time commodity broker and also a part-time influencer on Instagram. So I also have my own YouTube channel, but it's nowhere close to what you guys have built on Defiant. Yeah.
And so listen, you have set up, I mean, you have a bunch of pictures. They got turned into memes, and then they got turned into this insane story. But Ben, you must have had a hand in all of this. What was your role in persuading Irene to jump into this with you?
Yeah, so I think we actually had this idea, this idea to start So Col, right? So Col was actually the main idea that we had. Irene Zhao was kind of like a proof of concept for So Col. We had this idea back in like February, but at that point of time, I was actually doing another startup, which was like venture backed. And only recently I was like, because it was a travel startup, I kind of picked the wrong vertical, right? So recently I actually was talking to Irene again because I freed myself from that founder service agreement. At the start of last year, right? That was when Irene actually got into crypto because she actually was working as a CMO of Konami. And we were just talking about, the creator economy, right? Because the two of us, actually, I met Irene 6 years ago. When I first met her, she only had 300 followers, right? So since then, I've really helped her take a lot of photos. Like especially if you scroll way to the back, right? Usually the guy behind the photos is me. I'm always the one, like when we go for meals, I help to take photos and everything like that. And we basically work with every major brand in Southeast Asia, right? To do brand campaigns, social media campaigns, and stuff like that. So that was really like our kind of forte, right? And where we really understood what works and what doesn't work. So I think what we were discussing was that now, because Irene was into cryptocurrencies, right, and into crypto, into like blockchain, I invested in cryptocurrencies back in 2016, but mostly as an observer, right? Because I was actually working as a quant in an investment bank before, and I couldn't touch any stocks, I couldn't touch any FX, right? So the only thing that I could kind of like buy and just observe was cryptocurrencies. And we were just having a chat about, the problems that Irene was actually facing as an influencer, and how all of these Web3 technologies could actually kind of help to alleviate the pain points, right? So we were actually doing So Col. The Irene Zhao thing actually came out as it was like a kind of unexpected story that came out from a sticker pack actually. So maybe Irene, you want to just talk a little bit about the reason and the rationale why we started So Col.
So actually, So Col, right? We think we want to create a actually Irene Zhao is like a prototype that for our core concept of a community-driven creator economy. So when we extend the idea into a DAO, Leap and our co-founder Ben hacked it together within a day. And the So Col platform, actually, our aim is to help our content creators like me to monetize their content and build communities with their fans by converting their existing social content into NFTs. So in this way, they can engage their followers in a much meaningful way. And actually, at the platforms runs, you can talk about the technology side of the So Col.
Yeah. Anyway, before that, I think what Robin is talking about is basically the story, right? So how do we get from So Col sticker pack into Irene Zhao, right? So maybe I'll just give a very brief introduction about how all of these things actually came about. So we actually were doing our website, our marketing website, the one you see with the David statue inside our website. And for that, we actually wanted to do a Telegram link. So I actually created this Telegram group. I shared the link with only Irene and like a few other people, just to put it inside the website. And somehow or another way, Irene's hardcore fans managed to find this Telegram group, even though we never posted it online at all, right? They just somehow, maybe they probably stalked Irene and found out that she's following So Col on Twitter, and then they kind of typed socol.io, and they somehow found it. So because of that, right, they just started spreading this So Col group all over the place around crypto Twitter. And soon after, we start having like 100 people, and they were all like, posting the same kind of copy pastas, like a good project with whatever, we will get to see an unprecedented growth. And we're just pasting the same things all over and over again. So I was just thinking, right, like these guys are just posting the same thing, like GM, Wag Me, and same copy pastas, why not let's just make a sticker for them to do it? So we were proposing some kind of sticker pack. We were asking them for memes, and they were contributing memes. And soon, right, they were actually contributing stickers by themselves. They were creating pictures, of course, with Irene, because it was Irene's hardcore fans from the Instagram days, right? They were actually creating Irene with, like all these captions like these. So we thought, these guys love it so much. They were like creating all of these stickers, all of these pictures with the catchphrases. Irene, why not let's just make it into an official sticker pack? So myself and some interns, we just quickly hacked together some things. Obviously, the Photoshop quality was not that good, and that was a big criticism. Everybody was like, you guys, like the Photoshop is so bad, right? But that wasn't the point at all. The point was that it doesn't really matter whether the Photoshop is good. It's just that it's part of the meme, because and soon after, right, we were realizing that the sticker pack was growing much faster than our So Col Telegram group. So our So Col Telegram group, I was checking the stats. Like every day, Irene was asking me like, how many people installed our sticker pack? How many people? Like she was asking me like multiple times a day, and then I was keep reporting on the stats, and we found out that there were like 2,000 installs. 2,000 people installed our sticker pack within 4 days, and our Telegram group only had like 200 people.
Yeah, so and I didn't even like publicize my sticker pack on Instagram. It's just like snowball effect. People just start to send the good morning, the welcome sir, the like yes sir sticker on Telegram group.
Yeah. So eventually the sticker pack got the attention of this anonymous user called LibEVM, right? And he really loved the sticker pack. He loved it so much that he actually, he actually messaged Irene and asked her if, let's see, whether he can make this sticker pack into an NFT, because he enjoyed it so much. So initially Irene and I were discussing, and he kind of proposed like, why don't we just sell it, and then we just split the profits. Irene can have most of it. But at a point of time we were discussing it, and we didn't really want to seem like a cash grab, especially because we had a lot of investors, right? We actually just closed our seed round, and doing something like that would kind of signal that, you know, you guys are not committed to your project. You're like making NFT and doing these kind of things for extra cash, right? This shouldn't what we should do. This shouldn't be what we should be focusing on. But I was having an idea, right? Because Lip was really adamant. He was like, I really love the sticker pack. You know, I want to do it for the memes. You know, I really want to do this project. So I was just thinking about it, and I was like, okay, why not? Let's kind of spin this sticker pack NFT into a proof of concept for So Col, right? Because we have been kind of like trying to tell everybody about our vision, right? That you know, basically, if we use creator NFTs, creator DAOs, right, things like these, it could actually change the whole dynamic of the creator economy. So basically, what I'm thinking right now, right, in terms of the creator economy, right now we have a few ways for people to make money. Obviously, the first way, like Irene has mentioned in the thread, is to do things like advertisements and merchandise, right? But as she's mentioned, these are not really the most efficient ways to make money. What we've really seen skyrocketed over the past 2 years are platforms like membership platforms like Patreon and OnlyFans. But the thing about Patreon and OnlyFans is that this is a very transactional relationship, right? What happens is that the creators actually kind of give, it's like a transaction, right? So the users pay money, and in exchange, the creators actually give exclusive content back. It's like it's a really purely transactional kind of relationship, right? It doesn't have that kind of community engagement like what we are seeing in Irene DAO. So our thesis was that, you know, these DAOs could actually greatly enhance the relationship that creators have with their audiences. And I think that is probably best illustrated in the DAO initiated collaboration, like for example, the Gozly collab. So what happened was that when we actually first created the DAO, right, we kind of started it, you know, like as a meme, and you know, because we didn't want to do it. If let's say we did a So Col DAO, nobody will actually join So Col DAO, right? We wanted to kind of prove the concept, and of course, big props to Irene for kind of volunteering herself as the guinea pig, right, for this proof of concept. But what happened was that immediately after we started this Irene DAO, right, users were kind of like creating and suggesting ideas on what we can do. And the number one suggestion that was on everybody's minds, right, was when can we do the Gozly collab, right? So some users actually did the GM photo with Gozly's face on top of it, right? And then people were actually, you know, really excited about the thing. So the DAO actually came up with a lot of proposals, and we actually came up with, you know, a vote that eventually we just actually passed the Gozly collab vote on Snapshot right now. And in fact, you know, what I realized was that the community was actually kind of rallying together. People were kind of pooling resources. There was a DAO member who kind of like had people in Indonesia, and then they actually kind of paid Gozali a visit at his house to kind of like help to. Yeah, no, it's serious. We actually had a DAO member. So we actually had a DAO member. I will not review him, but basically he had a team sent down to Gozali's house to kind of like, you know, negotiate. Right now we're at like a later stage of negotiation where we're actually discussing, you know, the details and all of these things about how the collab is going to work. But I think this is the whole beauty of DAOs, right? It's like these serendipitous moments, right? The DAO, like, you know, them being part of the community, they're actually all contributing resources, and actually they're working together to create content. I think the old model of the Patreon and the OnlyFans model is the creators entertaining the fans, right? And it's only a one-way transaction, and in exchange they get money. This new way of you know, creator to fan interaction is that the creators, obviously they're still creating value for the fans, but now the fans, as part of like this creator DAO, they get to kind of propose what they want to do, right? Do they want to kind of support environmental causes? Do they want to support women's rights? Do they want to kind of do collaboration with another artist, right? They actually get to say to decide like how they want the branding of the DAO to be, right? How they want the future and the vision of the DAO to be. And I think this is a very new dynamic that we haven't really seen, right? Have you seen any OnlyFans communities or Patreon communities kind of rallying and doing something like what we did with the Gozly DAO, right? I think this is something that's very interesting, and we are very excited to kind of build So Col as a way to allow all creators, including people who have no idea what blockchain is, right? Web2 creators, to actually launch their own versions of Irene DAO. So I think this is actually something that's very exciting for us.
Okay, good. And breathe. My goodness, Ben, you've said a lot in a very short space of time. I can see you're excited about it. I'm. There is a skeptical side to all of this, and we'll dig into that. But Irene, you're clearly passionate about this and excited about this, but there's also a massive risk to doing this, that you could be kind of seen as just exploiting this space and this culture. So I want to dig a little bit further into how much you knew about the NFT space and about NFT culture before you jumped into this, because I
Yeah.
just want to kind of know your journey to getting to this point to do the Irene Zhao DAO experience.
So actually, I had a CryptoPunk in July at around like 31 Ethereum, and I just sold it like a few months ago. So that's my experience with NFT, and I think NFT is really a great experience for people to get to know, because it's like a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, right? And that's the best way for Web 2 people to get into Web3 space, and that's how it creates a lot of noise in the Web2 economy, because people think like, why a JPEG can make so much money? And that's, I think it's working, because once Irene DAO gets very popular and when very famous, a lot of Web2 creators suddenly start to talk to me, like say, oh, how can I release my own NFT? It sounds very difficult. It sounds very technical. Then that's how we, So Col, come in to actually tell them that So Col provides an easy and like a no-brainer way for you to release your own NFT. Yeah.
Well, it's really easy to be cynical about this, because you say when Irene DAO gets successful, but that's a big assumption to make about the Irene DAO, because I think what your audience in this space is probably being driven by short-term traders initially, and then the community forms itself, and that's fantastic, and they're all going to do what they're going to do. But there always comes this secondary phase where you have to build stuff and you have to create stuff and you have to scale it, and it becomes more like a traditional business at that point. I'm presuming that you have an idea of who would be next to follow along behind you. Do you have an idea of what communities you can reach out to? What other creators you can jump in? Yeah.
Actually, after this, right, some pretty famous OnlyFans creator approached me and say they want to start a community, because they talked to me like they thought about the Web3, like and they know what's the pain points of Web2 social media, like all these OnlyFans, like Twitch, all these platforms, and they find there's a need for the Web3 creator market. And that's why they get so excited. They said they cannot wait to try our testnet. Yeah.
So I want to dig into this further, because I've heard this many times, and I want to kind of get an insight into where this need is, what this need actually is for creators, because it's not something I experience. We create in a very different way, but like where is OnlyFans failing you? Where is Instagram failing you? Where is YouTube failing you? If that's where you are, what's going wrong, and how can this model do it better?
I think the thing is, right, you can get followers really quick on these Web2 platforms. For example, I post a very like hot photo on Instagram, I can instantly got 10K followers in like 2 or 3 days, right? But the thing is, there's no way for me to directly monetize on these photos, and I have to rely on doing advertisements, doing branding, doing all the sponsorship to make a living on it. But the thing is, your followers get to complain because you keep posting advertisement, right? It's like you have to like do a lot of photo shoots to get followers, and then you use these followers to as a like bargaining power to negotiate with the brands to ask for more money. So it's like you are using the followers as a means to make money, right? Which is pretty bad for your brand image, and you want to find a balance between creating content and also making a living out of it. I think that's the problems most of creators like me is facing right now. And another thing is, to be honest, some OnlyFans creator, they can actually get money from OnlyFans subscription. But for people like me, right, we have kind of like a branding, and we don't really want to venture into that adult content. And that and then Instagram become the only way for us to monetize on our content. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand this. I understand this deeply, because we're also a data-driven business. You look at the stats and you say, this is content that will do well. And then you look yourself in the mirror and you go, yeah, but I don't like this, and I don't like me doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where is your line? Because I know you know how to position yourself in front of a camera, and you know if you suggest a little bit more butt cheek or whatever, it's going to get more engagement. But like, where is your line? How do you manage that line? Because there is a real tension between commerciality, building an audience, and then everything else. There has to be some kind of slider where you say, this is where I'm at in terms of what I'm prepared to do in order to get the most followers possible.
Actually, right, the interesting thing is people might think the more revealing photos you post on Instagram, the more followers you can get. But actually, it's not the case because Instagram changes its algorithm all the time, and you have to figure out what's the growth hack. You know, once you post some really sexy photos, the engagement actually got down because Instagram knows that, oh, you just keep posting all these photos for like a thirsty chat, right? And then you need to keep changing stuff. So me and Ben be figuring out this Instagram algorithm for a very long time. But then we realize, and also especially for advertisement, engagement is even lower because it's like expected you to do a paid promotion on this advertisement post, right? Therefore, you need to really find a balance. So last time, because I tried to make more money, so I did like 5 to 6 advertisements per week, and I got a lot of complaints after that. Yeah, I think
we had the same. We had the same thing.
Yeah.
So we do sponsors. We sell sponsorship spots, and you get scripts and you say the scripts, and sometimes you're like, I'm selling something here, and I don't want to be selling this. And I think, you know, in the Web3 paradigm, we should not be on YouTube, and we should be on other platforms. But those platforms are just not audience ready yet. We just don't have the wealth. So now we got a better insight of the problems that you were facing. How does what you've now built solve them?
Maybe I'll just add on a little bit. I'll just add on a little bit on that point, right? What we're solving is not really Instagram, right? Because I think the thing that we're focusing on is that if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? I think like what Irene mentioned, it's actually kind of easy. If let's say you post quality content on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, naturally your followers are going to grow, right? So that's not really the problem. I think the problem right now is that you see right now people are calling it the Great Resignation, right? Where a lot of people are quitting their jobs, right? And now on people's minds, they're kind of thinking like, okay, I have like this my side cooking channel, I have like my fashion channel, my fashion Instagram, right? Could I actually turn this into a full-time career, right? Also, if let's say you look at recently, I heard there was like a survey, right, that was done on you know, like 3-year-old kids or 5-year-old kids or something like that, and they kind of interviewed them, and for the first time, you know, it's not astronaut as like the top career choice. The top career choice is actually YouTube star. So we're kind of seeing that a lot of people actually want to make content creation as their full-time career. So that's the part that's actually broken, because right now, if let's say you're a TikTok star with like 1 million followers, how are you going to turn this into a full-time career? First, you could actually, you know, kind of sell out and take a lot of advertisements, you know, maybe do some cryptocurrency, pump and dump, something like that, right? You could actually do kind of these kind of things to do it. But, you know, this is not really a sustainable career because you need to make kind of stable recurring income for that to happen, right? So on the other hand, like what we've really seen people try to do is things like Patreon, things like OnlyFans. But like what we've seen with OnlyFans, right? This obviously, firstly, not everybody is kind of suitable to do the OnlyFans, and people have kind of like a stigma around it. Second, like what I mentioned before, OnlyFans is a very transactional kind of thing, right? So it's always about like, I pay you money as a fan, I'm going to pay you money, $30 a month or something like that. And in exchange, I'm expecting you to give me something back, right? This is not really a kind of interaction and engagement that a creator would want to have with their fans, right? What we are really looking for are kind of the moments where the fans actually kind of have a say. They want to feel like they're part of the inner circle, right? I think part of like, you know, the value of all those collections in the NFT is that you feel like you're part of that club, right? Let's say you have a Bored Ape, or let's say you have a CryptoPunk, you feel like you're part of this kind of family, right? I think that's what people want to kind of feel like. They want to feel like part of this exclusive fan club, this super fan club, right? And that's something that actually these things that we're actually building over here with Irene Zhao, and also in the future, all of these kind of communities that we're going to build on SoCo is going to give people that feeling where they are part of the process, right? They can kind of vote and kind of shape the interactions, how they want to position the branding of, let's say, like Irene's community, of, let's say, like this game's community, or let's say like something like that, right? So this actually gives people way more engagement, and people are willing to kind of work for free because it makes them feel part of the group.
Oh, you got to be careful when you say people are willing to work for free. That's a slightly uncomfortable message for me. I think when DAOs work well, if you work and you participate and you contribute, then you will be rewarded commensurate with the amount that you put in. And I think that's a meritocracy, and you know,
I think it's the wrong kind of phrasing. Yeah, it's not work for free, but kind of work for as part of like a greater purpose, right? So I wouldn't say this, like, it's not monetary compensation, it's kind of for a greater purpose.
No, I agree with that, and I understand that. But what are people who are part of the DAO getting a piece of? Because it's not a piece of Irene, right? It's something else. But I'm curious what that actually is.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is that by actually being part of this, right? So I'll just use Irene Zhao as an example because this is obviously our proof of concept, right? I think the kind of value that you actually have from Irene Zhao, firstly, is that Irene, you feel like you are part of Irene's inner circle, right? Because you kind of have the past, and Irene kind of have like interactions with them and things like that, right? It's not even anything because technically you can pay much less money than what you're spending on an Irene Zhao pass to go to OnlyFans, and you're going to get way more exclusive content on OnlyFans. But I think that the reason why a lot of people, they kind of are drawn to the idea is because this concept kind of illustrates a kind of model where it's no longer just the creator feeding in the content. Now people feel like they have a part. If I have a really great idea, I want Irene to kind of collaborate with somebody else, I can actually propose that to the DAO. The DAO can actually do a vote, and then we can kind of like approve that. And actually maybe this thing, if let's say Irene also believes that this is good for her brand, if let's say she believes in a certain cause, if let's say they want to donate to women's charities, right? These are something where people feel like they can actually kind of contribute, right, back to the community. And I think this is something that you just don't see in OnlyFans or Patreon.
Yeah, I think it's more for the creator to decide what their own community can do, right? For example, if it's a gamer, you can do like a closed door tournament. If it's a basketball player, you can like have a like basketball competition between you and your followers. And if it's like a singer or a dancer, you can have like mini concert held, especially for your community. So I think this is amazing. The creator get to decide what they want to do with the community, and you define the value of your NFT. How the pass holders can really use this NFT to unlock all the exclusive content.
So there's definitely an uneasy relationship going on here, and it feels like the relationship that we're trying to talk. Alp, could you please change to the other camera angle? Thank you. I have an operator. He's over there. He's messing with my head
Sup,
because he can.
How you doing, Irene?
Hi.
Hey.
We're experimenting just like you guys are. We're just doing it in a weird digital plastic space. But no, I was making the point that the relationship between you and your fans is, as you said, transactional, and you're trying to move it to a more, I guess, notionally equitable relationship, and it feels more like a marriage in a sense, because you're sharing things, and there's more transparency, and there's more I know you. Is there a danger that your DAO members can have a dangerous amount of control over you? Is that something you're willing to kind of test the lines on? And is there also a danger that, if this ends up in divorce, that it's really damaging to you? I'm wondering if you ever think about that.
I think you just need to draw a fine line, right, between DAO and your private life. Because I have been a public figure for more than 5 years, of more than 6 years. So I have all the followers been telling me what kind of content I want you to do. If you don't post this, I'm going to unfollow you, blah, 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 all these things, right? You just have to set a standard, what you can do and what you cannot do. So when they try to cross your boundaries, you just say no to them. I think they will understand. Yeah, I mean, I mean, in a nutshell, they are your followers, right? And they want the best of you. They want you to grow as a better person, and then they can be proud to be like simping a girl that really achieve her dream and to make like create economy a much better ecosystem. I think this is what they want to see me as a better person, and I think we are working hard together as a community to achieve the same vision. Yeah, I think you just need to set expectation right.
Well, that brings me back to another point, which is communication. Like the lines of communication are incredibly important now, and and making sure that the message comes through in the right way, because everyone operates at such a speed, and it's also 24/7, so you can't be there 24 hours a day because you're a human being.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that communication is correct? I'm only flagging this because I think with influencers there's a vulnerability that other entities don't have, because a business is a protected entity that can go bankrupt, and then you step away and everything else. But like an influencer that really is, you're dancing on the razor's edge to a degree, and I think that's something not to be taken lightly.
I think if you are doing the right thing, your NFT will definitely become more popular. There is like a invisible hand in this market. I think the economics will adjust as long as you do the right thing, as long as you are creating value for the space. I think definitely your NFT price is gonna go up. Yeah, I think it's just a channel of communication. The NFT is the medium to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think also through this DAO, you also kind of learn about this. We're kind of seeing this in action, right? Because some people they're buying Irene DAO Pass, kind of expecting some exclusive content, or like I don't know, maybe they were expecting something different, and then they come inside, it's all memes, it's like Gauzy collab, and like Irene just posting her cat, things like that. I mean, these are the people who are just immediately going to be like, this is not what I'm expecting, and then they just sell out. But I think that's a good thing as well, because eventually the kind of people who are going to be part of your inner circle, you also want to be the ones that actually share the same values as you.
Yeah, and I think there's also a degree to which people underestimate how much a community, firstly, it self-selects, it self-censors, it self-polices, but it finds its own path to self-sustainability in terms of ideas being generated and people being kind of comfortable working with each other. And I think that's something that, if you start from a place of good intentions, it can generally take you quite a long way. But I'm still slightly skeptical about this idea that it's about making money, because once you set those expectations, it's very hard to move away from them. I think if you could say, in NFT space, we start from a position of setting culture, that's interesting. And I think that brings us to a very important point, which is this word simp. Explain to me what a simp is, please, Irene Zhao. For our viewers out there, what is a simp?
I think it matches our slogan, right? The simp, the simplicity, integrity, meaning, and purpose. That is what we think simp is.
Yeah, no, as in this basically was it started with a meme, right? Because I was actually hacking the website, so we actually hacked the whole thing, the whole Irene DAO. She did it within a day. Like myself and Lip. So Lip did all the contracts, and then I was doing like the really simple app at the front, right, where you can kind of connect your wallet and do the minting. So I was just populating the website, and the website obviously cannot just be a connect wallet and mint. I needed to add some content. So fun fact about the simplicity, integrity, meaning, and purpose was I was just looking for content to kind of fill it. And I just thought of this SIMP kind of core values thing, and just came up with some bullshit right on the spot just to fill up the website. And it turns out to be really popular among the community. They kind of like make it like the slogan. And yeah.
You can't underestimate the value of a meme. And like when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's not only is it memeable, but it's also meme approachable, as in anyone can take that and make their own version of it, because they can interpret simp in a number of different ways. We could come up with one right now, which is some include in me.
A squirrel in my pants.
Squirrel in my pants. Exactly. Or, these kind of things. And it's beautifully done because it's very simple. But I wonder if do people identify as simps? Are they actually like happy to be identified that way?
I think people might think simp is a bad word, but I don't think it's true, because it's like it's different. It's like pretty different from like sports fans, right? You like someone because actually it's because of their characters. You basically come behind someone whom you think like best represent your values. So we are trying to change how people look at simps. So in our So Col community, we actually call simps the knights, the So Col knights, like who protect the girls from all this internet bullies. I think knight is probably a better word to describe simp.
Yeah.
But it is. Come on, it's like incel. It's like it's identifying yourself as, and like the worst version of it is like, I want to see your feet. I remember, again, working for Harmony, Layer 1 Sharding Protocol, we had one young Turkish female member who was a very beautiful young woman, but like it was literally, I want to see her feet. And this is simp culture, and it's hard for people to understand that. But that's why I'm curious, Irene, from your perspective, having, I guess, had innumerable DMs come in saying very inappropriate things. Yeah. How do you use that in the right way?
I think that's only one angle of how you look at it, right? Because actually, the large part of the followers, they are really a group of really sneaky ones that I want to see your feed or something. And I do receive that kind of DMs every day. But you can't ignore the larger community in the Irene Zhao, in the Irene fans community, right? For example, like people call Mike a simp, right? But actually, Mike has been so supportive since I just started on Twitter, right? And I think he's just trying to vocal with his support, but he is like being seen as a simp. I don't even know why this word comes from to describe him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come to see my feed will always exist, but we shouldn't ignore the good ones that come out from this community. Yeah, and all the support they've been giving me.
Yeah, I think I would just want to add something, right? Where in crypto Twitter, people are always asking about like when can we get like more women involved in this, right? But the thing is that if let's say, for example, if let's say I express admiration for let's say like a particular male creator, right? Or let's say like a sports person or something like that, nobody really kind of puts a slur to that, right? Even if girls they kind of do that, nobody really call these people like simps. They just call them like, oh, you're fans. But the thing is that the moment when especially within a crypto community, a girl start actually doing something like that, she starts to do entrepreneurship and something like that. And some guys, obviously, because if let's say Irene is doing something really great and really interesting, right? Some people will obviously admire her. And I think it's kind of like sad to see, right? That the people are actually, instead of supporting new women to actually come in, right? They kind of like try to put down these men who are actually supporting women coming into the space.
Well, I'm gonna say that that's a dangerous game. I tend to stay away from gender politics. My boss is a woman in the Defiant. Who cares? Like, we're all just people. We do our thing. And I think, interesting enough, talking to Camilla about this project yesterday, she was skeptical. She was like, "Why is a woman using her body to sell NFTs? Why is a woman using her body in this way?" And I think it's, unless you are willing to go into it with an open mind. What I said to her on the stream yesterday was, nobody got hurt. It was a free mint. Like, literally, who got hurt by any of this? It's a community self-organizing and self-growing because it wants to. And if you don't get it, then okay. But hating on it feels sort of destructive and unhelpful. So just walk away. If it's not for you, walk away. That's good. And I think that's why I wanted to get you guys on, because I think you have some really interesting things to say about this space. But I also have some questions for you just regarding the intention and also where you see yourselves in like 6 months' time. And how, and also just to not abuse your community and not take the goodwill and do something terrible with it, because I've seen that happen so many times. Social tokens were the precursor to what you're doing. And social tokens always felt like they had this really big issue, which was there's going to become a point where you are so under pressure to maintain the price of an asset, of a token, of an NFT, whatever, that you will do things that you wouldn't normally do in order to keep your community happy, just in the name of price. And therefore you are servicing the token and not yourself. That is a tension that you will come across, whether you like it or not. And I just want you to be super, super, super mindful. It will happen because this community is horrible like that. And to be prepared for it when it happens.
Yeah, I would just want to add this point, right? So if you have seen Irene's tweet, we're actually not making anything from it, right? It was a free mint. And the thing is that all of these exchanges, right, any time when they trade, the royalties all go back to the DAO. I think the best thing, like you rightly mentioned, if it's all about financial incentive, where I kind of do more things for money, you kind of go back into the OnlyFans and Patreon model, whereas the transactional thing, creator kind of creates content and kind of sells it, right, to the fans. I think we want to kind of avoid all of this, which is why we're not taking any money, right, from this. In the end, it's all about the community, how they decide how they decide how they want to use all of these funds. So yeah, as in if the price goes up or down, it doesn't affect us. We're not making any money from this at all.
Well, that was my point to Camilla yesterday. Well, listen, thanks so much for joining us, guys. We have our next guest on from the Peaceful Groupies, but this was Irene Zhao and Ben from So Col. Please do park your skepticism at the door and approach it with an open mind, because I think there is something genuinely smart and wonderful here, and I enjoyed spending time looking at it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have Jan from the Peaceful Groupies, and we also have Victor Meldrew back with us. Victor Meldrew, NFT artist. Jan, welcome.
Yo, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you for inviting me to the program. I was just listening, and yeah, having a great time. Thank you so much.
Wow, were you aware of the Irene Zhao project this week?
I was. I mean, I saw it on Twitter, but didn't actually like get too much into it. Yeah, I just saw some screenshots and people like sharing their opinions, but I was not much informed about the project. But yeah, learning a little bit.
What was your opinion? Were you skeptical?
No, actually, I didn't even have any idea. I just saw like the NFTs. I saw people talking about that, but to be honest, I have not much time with the groupies to go and check out like other collections and other projects, and I'm getting into like a void in here. So yeah.
Well, listen, I think it's a good moment for you to introduce the groupies and tell us a little bit about the project, because I mean, I don't think there's any other project quite like it in this space. So I was really excited to get you guys on here. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, I created a collection called the Peaceful Groupies. They are actually part of this big umbrella called the Peace Void. And the concept is that these peaceful groupies are like peaceful beings that are inside this trippy festival called Peace Void. And my aim with Peace Void is basically like making an art movement that we can share like our aesthetics and get into music, into art, into festival, like in real life festivals, metaverse festivals, and yeah, just bringing more to the scene of the music and the art together. And yeah, so there are like 10,000 peaceful groupies. They are all crafted manually and then randomized in computer. And yeah, we got a great community, very peaceful people. That's like the best thing ever. We've got some great people in there, like they appreciate art, they share with each other, and yeah, that's like the main idea we had. So yeah, that's our
the groupies are just weird. Like they're just they're colorful, they're 60s psychedelic inspired. They just got a whole vibe going on. And like if you haven't seen them, they're like there's some really weird traits in there as well. How did you come up with this? Because like I remember when I saw it, I was like, this is just different and it's weird and it's cool, and I was so up for that.
Yeah, so I've been drawing these for years, like these kind of characters that are, they either can be like for an adult show or a children's show, and I think that's like my sweet spot. So the groupies look like very family friendly, but at the same time like kind of for adults. And I wanted to, like, my first approach was like, I need to do this collection feel like every piece it's an actual piece of art and not just like an avatar collectible. So that's why I put so many details into the clothes, the hats, and even the backgrounds. And I wanted to do something that it's actually digital native and internet native. And that's why I implemented some GIFs backgrounds, which are like the trippiest groupies. They are like tripping in the festival and they have this moving background. And yeah, looking forward to, Twitter to implement GIF profile pictures. I think Discord also supports that, and Super Rare, OpenSea, everyone supports GIFs. So it made total sense to make a collection that you actually can rock in all of these Web3 platforms. And it's like more different than any other. They are like more eye-catching because they are moving and more detailed. So, and for the traits, I got inspired by a lot of projects. I did some tributes there. We did some tributes to the Subducks. Some of the groupies have like a Duck U chain in here. Some of the Pickles as well, like very much inspired by all the projects, and also like sharing the love by featuring them into my collection too.
Well, what you don't know is that Vector, who's on with us, is a established 3D and NFT artist in his own right, but he's also a fan. Vector, what drew you to these guys?
I just love the trippiness. I think it really is amazing. It just felt different to everything that was happening at that particular time. you know, just the way you've got kind of weird stuff on their head, or, you know, everything was very, they definitely had a lot of uniqueness about every single one. But, you know, I'm a fan of like that kind of psychedelic art, that comic book style, and with a kind of, like you said, it's like adult, but it's also could maybe be for children in certain places. But yeah, I have my groupie, and I've had him since just after mint, and I've held on to him. And I'm really excited to see what you build of it. And, you know, I've followed your roadmap, and I like the idea that, so that there'll be a kind of metaverse, right, with where you go to festivals. That's the plan.
Yeah, definitely. So when I just launched the project, for me, it was kind of just like an art project. I've been selling my works as NFTs for about like 6 months when I was launching the Groupies. And for me, it was an art project that then later on like got so much attention and so much people, and there are like so many people like telling, hey, you can do this and you can do that, and sparked some ideas, and so I started to think more about it. And so the main idea was just like, let's make this collection and make like a metaverse festival. That was like the main thing. But then, you know, which metaverse are you going to use? And if it's sandbox, then wow, we need like BX Groupies. And what's a cool way to have BX Groupies? It's by making your groupie eating a shroom, which is a secondary collection, and the groupies can like trip out and turn 3D. And so I'm building like this kind of story, not only like you know, not only like these steps on the roadmap, but also like this story that come together and make sense. But yeah, we're planning on doing some metaverse festivals, and also taking over some in real life festivals as well. We've been in the talks with some people, and hopefully this year that's gonna be a thing actually. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow. Well, if you need a jungle audio-visual VJ set, then definitely let me know. I've been doing some of those.
I see that you're, yeah, dude, that's crazy. I didn't even know that you were a person. I thought it was just a trippy video in there.
I'm a real person. I'm a real person.
That's great, dude.
But this is hopefully my form for the ongoing, you know, possibly eternity. The avatar could live on in the same way that, you know, all avatars that we're creating live on longer than us. But yeah,
that's crazy.
It's I also feel that your project, in some way, I guess there was a lot of noise around that time, but I feel like it came out of nowhere almost. Like it really, you know, I missed the mint and I went on to secondary, but I missed the come up. Like, so can you talk much about how you went from like inception to mint and then selling out quite fast, and what that journey was like? Because was it difficult? Was it easy? It was, you know, how was it?
Yeah, so as I told you, I've been on the space since September 2020. And, you know, I started just selling my works. That's like one-of-one editions, some like editions of 10, 25, and just like starting to understand the environment, the ecosystem and everything. And yeah, like studying other projects, what are they doing? And once I realized like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what you can do with a collection actually. I decided to do mine. I decided to start creating the characters. It was like a one-man band at first. I was doing the art. I was managing the Twitter and posting some sneak peeks, you know, and basically, yeah, I think I dropped all my collector base into my project, and yeah, everything was like slowly building, and I was experimenting a lot. My idea was to experiment, do new things. So our mint process was actually, we had like a whitelist, and then we had like a Dutch auction kind of mint. So we started at 2 Ethereum, and in the matter of 48 hours, it went down to 0.06. And yeah, so we sold, I think, 2 groupies at about 2 Ethereum. And then, you know, I think just it just went down, like nobody was buying it. It was like really like an anxious moment because everyone was looking at Dutch auction, you know, waiting to pull the trigger, and no one was buying. And I think at 0.4 or 5, some people bought in as well, but everything happened in the end at 0.07, 0.08, around that. And it was crazy for me as well. I mean, we had, I think, 700 or 800 people on Discord. Wasn't too much. And I was in the Twitter Spaces with BCC, which is one of the cyberconks. And he was telling me, dude, I'm sharing your project into the cyberconks, and these guys are going nuts. They all love it, and I'm telling you, you're gonna sell it out. And I was like, no way. And you know, it's been like 5 minutes into that Spaces, and everything exploded. Like, it was like magic, to be honest. I had some people waiting for the project. I had some people following the Twitter, but it was really crazy. Like, the sellout was really, really crazy. And what came after that as well, too much people, too much movement, too much, you know, other projects like reaching out, and it was like crazy. I wasn't expecting anything of that, but yeah, really glad it happened. I mean, I'm glad people notice that we are kind of different, that we care for the art and are here for the art, basically, the music, the art, the sharing stories together.
100%. Is there some kind of partnership with cyberconks? Because I saw them promote it a lot actually in the cyberconks channels. Is there like, are you doing something in collaboration with them?
No, nothing. To be honest, I just knew about the cyberconks when they started to buy Groupies. You know, I was like thinking, okay, who are these guys? Why are they buying so much of my art? I never seen them like following me, and so I decided to buy a Kong actually and get into the Discord and get to meet some of the people, and they're like great investors and art appreciators as well. Made some friends in there, but to be honest, there wasn't like no partnership, no anything. I was just myself trying to market myself. I didn't even have like a marketing strategy. I was just uploading some test Groupies. You know, I made a thing that you know, you'll be able to have your own groupie. You just have to comment like, what trades can I draw, and then you recommend a trade and I draw it, and the only thing that's you need to use it for at least a week, you know, and that was like my marketing strategy. But yeah.
It's a funny thing about the cyberconks is that it's a collection that because there are so few of them, people don't really understand what has been happening there, but it's kind of this weird community of very intentional people. I think that's the best way to explain it. The Kongs it's a completely unique community. Yeah. There's a Wall Street channel in Kongs where you get alpha about stuff and they share stuff. But like when Kongs decide that they're going to do something, they do it correct. And so they've done Kongs have done a bunch of different things first, which other people have copied. And you'll see Kongs present in Subducts, you see Kongs heavily present in Peaceful Groupies, but there's just a bunch of them that have this very clear mindset on what makes a good idea and what doesn't make a good idea, and there's a good vetting process, and they tend to be very long-term individuals that are in that space and in that way. And it's weird because you know, anyone coming into it will look at a cybercon and think, I can't afford that, it's not for me. And that's a shame because there's some really smart, interesting people in there in that community, which sounds like I'm eulogizing Kongs, isn't it? They haven't done everything perfect, but they've definitely done a lot of things really, really well. And I think it's easy to dismiss them because they're too expensive. But actually, with VX Kongs and then with the whole VX movement, you know, we've got VX Ducks coming. I'm imagining you're going to have Peaceful Groupie VX as well. There's going to be an entry level point for everyone. You know, Mutant's already out of reach for Bored Ape owners. You can buy a dog maybe, but it's going to be like baby chimps or whatever, something, you know. You need to allow people access to your community. Jon, I know actually on the channel we have this rule, we don't talk about roadmap. But what is your roadmap?
Yeah, so our very first step this year, it's actually to launch Peace. It was meant to be launched early January, but we got a little delayed. Yeah, it's a token to interact with everything related to our own ecosystem. So the Peace Boy world, kind of the currency of our festival. And then its main uses will be to mint the secondary collection called the Trippy Shrooms. There'll be these kind of trippy shrooms that groupies will eat and then turn 3D, and you'll be able to claim your BX groupie. So these are kind of the three main things: the token, the mushrooms, and the BX groupies. but then in the middle we're gonna have. I really want to do a token that's not only, you know, like, oh, I'm making like passive income on this and getting money out of this, but I want it to be like an artistic utility token. So you'll be able to buy my pieces on with Peace and like different editions, auctions, and everything. When I created the Groupies, I started minting my works on Super Rare or Rarible or OpenSea or wherever, just waiting for the moment for Peace to come out and finally like make sense to all of this, so I can start like minting pieces for the Groupies. So yeah, the token is the first step. Then the mushrooms, we're also making a little puzzle, which is like a new kind of way of getting free airdrops. I didn't want to do like, you know, like Polygon drops. They drop to every holder and they hold no value. And I'd rather have like lower edition artworks. And the puzzle, it's very cool because it's kind of a game that will be released, you know, for example, like in 30 minutes, and then you'll go there and need to solve a puzzle, and then you solved it, and the first, I don't know, like 100 or 25 or 200 people that solved it will be able to claim the NFT. And yeah, so I'm trying to experiment and bring new things to the table and you know, enjoy the art together with the community. Then we were in the talks with some bands that also wanted to have like some groupie merchandise for their shows. There's a band that won a video clip actually. That's very cool. We've been approached by a couple of festivals as well, so that's one of the best things, because I think that, you know, when you take it to real life and then you get to meet other groupies into a festival and get like this like kind of deep passes for the groupies and have our own place there, and that would all make sense. And I look forward to meet other people in there, because yeah, I'm in Argentina right now, and I think most of the following base of the groupies, it's in the US. And I know the people love to meet each other, and it's kind of weird when you are in the other side of the world and cannot just make it like next week into to a festival there or something.
Well, you are at least in a sort of vaguely comparable time zone. I have the same thing. Like one of my absolute favorite projects right now is Fluff World, and they're in New Zealand, and like just can't do anything with those guys. I would love to, but you know, yeah. This is the global economy that we're in. Music is, I think, going to be a big driver of newcomers into this space. You were talking about bands. Have you got other you know, artists that are coming in, or DJs? You know, we've got Vector right here who wants to DJ with you and create a set. You know, this is stuff that we can do remotely and digitally, and it can still be relevant. Have you any thoughts about what to do as we're still in the grip of COVID, I guess, for probably another 12 months at least?
Yeah, so our very first idea was to get, we got some sandbox land, and our very first idea was to throw in festivals there, but the problem is that sandbox isn't really open for everyone right now. So we're looking forward to go into the Centraland, probably, and yeah, do some shows in there, because we actually are gonna airdrop now in January. We're working on, I want to turn Peace Boy like also in a metaverse clothing line. And so we're gonna be dropping hopefully monthly new like outfits for the groupies. So this month we're gonna drop a hoodie, a short, and some sleepers, some slides, and yeah, just to get people dressed up, you know, and getting prepared. And for sure we're gonna be throwing in parties and little festivals in the Central as well. I think that's the best.
Yeah, digital fashion is going to be a big deal. I think no one's really seen it coming, but there were the signs were there at the beginning of 2021, and nobody really saw it coming. But I have a massive thesis on digital fashion. We've got Hate Beast now. We've got Adidas Essentials, Adidas Originals coming through, and then, you know, obviously Artifacts, CloneX, Nike. Yeah. There's some big moves happening in fashion, and fashion feels like it can move really quickly. You've got AR filters to allow you to dress yourself on Instagram. It's just like, it's ready. And I have this saying that, like, I think this space is going to come to be dominated by teenage girls. And I say this as the father of a girl that is moving into tweenhood and soon into teenagehood. And like, I see the way she looks at this stuff that we have, the NFTs, everything else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited. Music, art, fashion. Like, how can we not be excited about the ability to create culture and disseminate culture at speed, and then in a way that returns value back to the people that created it in the first place? That's exciting.
Yeah, that's very, very exciting. I mean, I think what's most exciting about like all my project, like Peace Boy, it's that it's basically everything that I always wanted to do in one thing, and now I'm able to do it because I did this collection and have the funds to start and get the ball rolling on everything. Because I always wanted to do like a video clip. I always wanted to do a clothing line. Then now I have the possibility to also do a metaverse clothing line and to do music, like pairing with musicians, festivals. It's kind of a dream. And yeah, basically I want to be like the Burning Man of the metaverse. So
the Burning Man of the metaverse. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, it's funny because we're Alp, stop it. So we're basically we looked at the metaverse and said, yes, it's fantastic, it's amazing. We looked at Unreal Engine and said, yes, it's fantastic, amazing. And the thing is, like, it's all so intimidating and so weird, but like metaverse platforms right now, as far as we wanted to use them, we're just not sophisticated enough. And so now I find myself in the position of having this stupid helmet on with a phone strapped to my face, a weight on the back. It's so uncomfortable. You have no idea. And yet I know that what I'm doing right now is the pathway to a future in which we will all be able to do this, and we'll be able to do it with our smartphones or whatever it is. And like, somebody has to go and do this. And, Vector's VTubing as this crazy blue head, and I love it. And it's like, it's funny to see the side by side of me like looking so dumb and awkward. Like, as this thing moves around, it's just like, I've got a constant look at my face. But like, the sophistication of these tools is going to be immense. And I think it's really cool that like Groupies have 3 eyes, or they've got a pickle. There's like some radioactive ones in there as well. It's just fun stuff. I'm a big fan of Groupies. I have a few myself, and I love them. So
I appreciate that, man.
Listen, it's time for us to wrap up here, and I'd like to say thank you so much to Jon from Peaceful Groupies for joining us, Vector Meldrew for being here since about 2:00 this afternoon, and thanks to Alp Gazimov for making me look like a twat with the second image.
You are welcome.
Yes. And to Irene Zhao for Loomdart. This was one monster of a show, and if you're watching it on repeat, we'll put some chapter markers in there as well. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and do get subscribed. Do go and check out Vector Meldrew and Peaceful Groupies, and we will see you very, very soon.
Thank you.
Peace out.
The future.
Bye.
Woo, this was the future.
Let's go. Thank you so much for inviting me, man. Appreciate that.
Play the music.
Great show.
Alp Gazimov. Let's go. Go.